This radio program is PG-13. Parents strongly caution some material may be inappropriate for children under the age of 13.
The following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona. Brother Mike is back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thanks for tuning in to the program. Today's Bible study, Transgender Terror. Sweeping the country. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on, particularly if somebody needs to be healed of clinical depression or suicide ideation? Today's your opportunity. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. We're in Central Phoenix, in downtown area. We're south of Osborne Road. It's the red brick building. HardcoreChristianity.com is the website. When you go to the website, you'll see all of our ministry services. We have 2 live services every week at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, Thursday and Friday nights. We have a Wednesday night Zoom deliverance service with Brother Rick and the ministry team. That starts at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, Wednesday nights. Please remember our children's deliverance service coming up on March 4th. That's a Saturday at 10 o'clock. Please remember, if you need a religious exemption, you can send me an email, mike@hardcorechristianity.com. I'll send you one out right away. If you need the miracle list, a step-by-step guide to healing and deliverance that works 100% of the time, send me an email. I will send that out to you right away. If you need a donation receipt for 2022, by the way, thank you so much for all your help. And going to the PayPal button, it's been fantastic. We paid all of our radio bills early last year. Paid them early. Thanks to you. If you need a receipt for your donations, send me an email. I'll send it out right away. Don't forget about my Sunday podcast. 9 o'clock in the morning, every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Transgender terror. You believe any of this? Satan's taking over the country now. He's hitting us from every angle. One of them is transgenderism. It used to be a mental illness in the DSM-1 and the DSM-2, but it changed. Now it's called gender dysphoria. It is no longer considered a mental illness, and it is considered normal. Can you imagine that? Transgendering, thinking you're another sex, is now normal. Okay? Let me give you an idea how bad this thing is and how satanic it is. Let's go to the Washington University Transgender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, this is a city, as you know, is run by demons. The murder rate there, the crime rate there, off the hook. St. Louis, one of the most dangerous cities in the country. A woman, a whistleblower, came forward working for this hospital, and it's got bombshells in it. Okay, her name was Jamie Reed. She recently wrote an article entitled, quote, "I thought I was saving trans kids. Now I'm blowing the whistle," unquote. That was the title of her article. It came out, and it has really caused, and a staggering amount of shock. Okay? This woman is alleging that over the 4 years she was there, she was an eyewitness to appalling behaviors damaging minors and children. She said that the doctors there quickly went to transitioning services because of the money, of course. There's money, big money to be made in these transitional surgeries. Double mastectomies, genital modification and removal. Staggering amounts of expensive drugs are used to transition a child from a male to a female to a male. It's unbelievable. And this woman apparently exposed the whole thing and it's been an enormous embarrassment for the hospital. Here's what she said, quote, "I left the clinic in November of last year because I could no longer participate in what was happening there. By the time I departed, I was certain that the way the American medical system is treating these patients is the opposite of the promise that we made to, quote, do no harm. Instead," she said, "we are permanently harming these vulnerable patients in our care," unquote. This woman was in charge of patient intake and oversight at the hospital. She'd been there for 4 years. She said there's an enormous rush by the hospital to start embracing surgeries and chemical interventions for children with gender dysphoria. She said it was morally and medically appalling. That's an exact quote. Quote, "morally and medically appalling." Hey, no kidding. This woman, by the way, is not a conservative or a Republican or a Christian. She is a far left liberal Democrat. She is a progressive to the max. That's what this woman is. That's why she was working there. She said that there was a major increase in the number of teenage girls seeking testosterone. And she lamented that it was actually a social contagion, translation, poisoning. It was poisoning for kids to take cross-sex hormones without going through proper psychiatric intervention. She said the hospital only required a letter of support from a therapist, and it was usually a therapist that the hospital recommended. And the hospital gave the outline of the letter to the therapist to show them how to write the report and what to put in the report. They actually gave the therapist a template to write a letter supporting transitions. That's how they manipulated it. She said the next stop after the therapist's letter was received, they were required to have one visit to an endocrinologist to get a testosterone prescription. You imagine that? She said the girls that were getting on testosterone had serious side effects. Their voices got darker, she said. Their beards would sprout out. Body fat was redistributed. Sexual desire exploded. Aggressive behavior accelerated. Moods became almost bipolarish, up and down. Huge mood swings. Yeah, no kidding, because God created males and females, and he did not create females to receive huge doses of testosterone. It's going to cause negative physical and emotional side effects. The kids, she said, were told about sterility. They said that they were informed that they may become sterile. But after watching all these kids transition, this woman said that she didn't believe teenagers were capable of understanding or grasping the full concept of being, for the rest of their lives, sterile. She said some of the patients later on found out about this and the realization hit them. They were very distraught and stressed out over it. She was amazed at how little these kids understood about what they were doing with their bodies, and that the hospital literally downplayed the negative consequences of taking all these severe medications. She said that the hospital was aggressively encouraging the kids to transition. And they claimed they had studies that showed kids who transition, they end up psychologically improved, and that they're better off than their peers. And she said that was a lie. She checked on it, and that the hospital had no studies, not one, showing that transitioning improved the person's psychological condition. Can you imagine that? They just outright lied and said they had all these studies that showed that if you transition, you're going to be much better off psychologically and emotionally, when in fact the whole thing was a lie. Puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, she said, caused powerful side effects. Liver damage, breast and chest pains. You imagine that? The drugs they were giving these kids, she said, were the same drugs they used to treat prostate cancer. It's unbelievable. Some of the women that were transitioning, the girls that were transitioning into boys, started having severe vaginal bleeding. Imagine that. Severe. There were tears inside the lining of the vagina and the uterus as a result of the powerful medications they had to give them. She said that some of the women that were transitioning were married or living with someone, and that they were still having intercourse, but that having regular intercourse was now damaging the vagina and causing it to be lacerated and bleed because of the cross-sex hormones they were taking. Not to mention all the pain she saw in the vagina and the clitoris of these girls that were transitioning. She said many of them developed, quote, tiny penises due to the testosterone. Some of the clitorises extended way down below the vulva surrounding the vagina, and that it caused an irritation and rubbed painfully in their jeans. They said they had to get them to wear compression undergarments to avoid the pain. Compression undergarments are worn by men who try to pass as females. They put these undergarments on, and it doesn't look like they have any genitals. That's what those things are for. Now they're having the women wear them because they're growing strange attachments to their vaginas. And she said numbers of these kids were hurt through these procedures. And she said the hospital would just gloss over it and keep going forward. Listen, if you know somebody who's transitioning, or they're worried about transitioning, or they don't think they're in the right body or the right sex or something, if they're Christians, they can come to the Deliverance Center and get free counseling services. 602-636-5800. They can come now.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.